Okay, thanks again for all the speakers sharing. Okay, now let's move on to next session. The next session will be the shock and awe of blockchain's disruptive impact on business culture by John Laley III. He's the co-founder and CEO of CNC Blockchain Advisor. And John worked in the Oracle application space for over 17 years, primarily in consulting service and education. Now please welcome John.
So, my name is John Riley. I am the CEO and co-founder of CNC Blockchain Technology. And just to give you a brief overview of myself, do I have a slide changer? Thanks. There you go. Really, today is what I'm covering is blockchain's disruption on business processes and the culture and organizations. So really, when you look at the definitions, that's another thing that's going to be disruptive on business cultures because there's so many different definitions. The mental shock and awe is, I think, is the biggest impact, and it's not, from a standpoint of it's bombs or things like that. I think the mental side of it for organizations to adapt and adjust to blockchain is the hugest part of the adoption process. And then we're going to types of cultures or business cultures that could possibly be infected by blockchain and the changes. And then where blockchain is being adopted in different existing business cultures already that normally wouldn't adopt to new technologies fast. And really, kind of briefly cover my background. So you can see blockchain, really our purpose is to help organizations prepare for their blockchain journeys before they get started, before they go and jump into it. And we kind of cover my background, 17 years with Oracle, application space, consulting services side, helping organizations with business process changes, in-user transformations, and really, custom in-user training. And I also a co-organizer of 2 blockchain meetup groups in West Palm Beach, Florida. And before I kind of get started in this video, my background, so you know, I used to be in the U.S. Marines. And when I think about shock and awe, I think about it from a mental standpoint and kind of the aspect of when you look at people that are getting the blockchain and all of us that are very passionate about it. We're like, you should be doing blockchain. Here's why. Here's why. Why are we doing blockchain? And they're standing there like, okay, where did blockchain come from? Like, I wasn't expecting this. And it's hard for them, I think, to grasp it. And if you've ever tried to explain blockchain to someone that has no clue about it, you can kind of see that if you give them one definition, they might not understand it. And then somebody else gives them a definition, and they might not understand it. So they stand there going, okay, but what is it? Nobody's giving me one standard answer on what blockchain is. I think even through these conferences, you will hear a different definition of what blockchain is from a different person, depending on how they got into the space, what they learned about it, is how they're going to define it. And so to set this scenario up, you see this young man that's standing there, and he's standing there minding his own business like a company would, like business as usual. There's no disruption coming. But in a second, he's about to get disrupted in a big way and not know how to react. And it's kind of like organizations when all of us are going at them like blockchain, 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 and all they can do is freeze. So I'll play this for you. So that was only 37 seconds, and it felt a lot longer. But I'm trying to show you the aspect of the mental aspect of all of us experts are going at these companies and telling them why blockchain. All they can do is go, and shake their head like, yeah, okay, because they're not prepared for it. And the reason that is there are so many different definitions to what blockchain is. And these are just a few examples that I pulled off. And To give you one example, has anybody seen NASDAQ sign out in Times Square? And on that sign, pops up and it goes, blockchain helps transactions become faster and safer. Like when you go out in Times Square after this meeting, you'll see it. It posted all day. And I saw that. I was like, all right, there's another example of a different definition that people are going to see. So if you're new to blockchain and you see that on NASDAQ sign and read it and go, all right, that's what blockchain is. But then you go somewhere else and you can get a different answer, like right here. And for me, when I got into blockchain, I read Don Tapscott's book, Blockchain Revolution. And really his definition, because it's more on the business side for me, resonated with me the most. And it goes, blockchain is an ingeniously simple and revolutionary protocol that allows transactions to be simultaneously anonymous and secure while being maintained in a tamper-proof public ledger of value. Now, since he's written this, we know now there's private and permission ledgers of value. So, and for me, I think from a business standpoint, businesses understand ledger and they understand transactions. And that resonated with me. Now, when businesses go out to ask other people about answers like, why should I do blockchain? What is it? And they go to one company and they go to another company and they go to another company and each one of them gives them a different answer. That's disruptive on their mental culture of getting into a new technology. And that's never happened before. When they buy new technology, you go, what is this? What does this do? Here's the definition, that's it. And you go to 5 other different vendors and they'll give you the same definition. But with blockchain, it's a totally different story. And it's not saying that any of the answers aren't right, because they all are in different ways. It's what's going to resonate with an organization that's going to make them want to move to blockchain. So that culture shift or that shock is hard for them to grasp. And there's some out there that are getting past that, which is great. I'll talk about this a little bit later. But this is kind of that transition of how do you get people to know exactly what blockchain is when if they can go research it and every time they go somewhere else, it's a different answer. So this is kind of the adjustment shift. And I came across this from Deloitte Consulting, and I thought it was great. And I know there's a lot of technical people here, but for me, I think, and blockchain really hits more on the business side, and they go on to say, it's been estimated that blockchain is 80% business process change and 20% about the technology implementation. This means you need a imaginative approach and how you're going to go with implementing it and understanding the opportunities of what's going to change. And don't get me wrong, the technical aspect is very important. There's already a shortage of experienced people out there when it comes to technology on blockchain. I think that's going to be that way for the next probably like 5, almost 10 years. But at the same time, when you look at the business side, that's the side that's going to be affected the most because they're the ones that have to change a mindset of how they've always done business. They've always done it one way. And nothing has been that disruptive where it's changing, where a CIO has to sit down and go, oh, I have my 3-year strategic roadmap. I want to do blockchain. Where do I have to change now? And they're not even ready for that. So different types of business cultures that can be affected. So if you're in a risk-taking type business culture that is looking for innovation, that's always wants to be on top of changing, and always is willing to look at new approaches to grow your business, the risk-taking side of a culture is going to be perfect. Now, if you're risk avoidance and you're a very conservative corporation that, whether you're in banking or even healthcare, right, you will not adopt new technology fast, where you will say, we'll wait, we'll leverage our experience of what we've done in the past, and we'll wait till it pans out. This is where blockchain is going to disrupt those cultures because the longer they wait, the less success they're going to have. And then you get into either a parallel or linear type culture. And even if you're thinking that way, so parallel cultures are you have to multitask a lot. Or if you're even a multitasking person where you can easily shift gears from one task to another and still complete what you're doing. Now the challenge is for people that are linears in those organizations where you have to do one task to the completion and then start from the beginning again and keep going. And if you're throwing blockchain into that routine of, okay, you're not going to start this task and get to completion. Now we got on blockchain. How are you adapting to that? Those cultures, it is going to absolutely disrupt those. It's going to make them feel like it's so uncomfortable because they're not used to changing midstream. And with blockchain, you're going to have to change midstream. And I thought, I mean, when I came across this, I kind of laughed because about a year ago, Gartner, I was on a webcast for them, and they were saying that there'll be no major blockchain implementations for like another 10 years. It was around last year at the time. And a year later, they come up with this. If business leaders wait for the hype cycle to run its course, they may no longer have a business to operate. At least nothing like the one they've previously experienced and profited from. Now, Gartner's used to giving advice because they're experienced in these areas of software and technology and telling people, wait for the hype cycle, wait for this. A year later, they're saying, if you wait for it to go through the hype cycle, you're already too late. Businesses have never heard that before. They would rather wait till something is through a hype cycle. I'm like, oh, it's just a buzzword. Well, blockchain is no longer just a buzzword. And when people are saying you need to prepare for it, even if you're not going to implement it now, start preparing for and learn about it, it's pretty important. And he's telling you that your business is no longer going to be profitable. That's a bold statement. To me, it is. How hard is that for a CIO to hear that and for it to resonate? You're telling someone that's very experienced that they don't know what they're doing in their business because they don't know about blockchain. That's hard. And if they've been successful at running their businesses all these years, and now you're telling them they can possibly fail because they're not going to blockchain, in their mind, it's like it's just a new technology. It's just something new, a new buzzword that's coming out, and they're not realizing it's more than that because they're leveraging their own experience. And the last culture I like to think it's going to disrupt is the expert, this culture. And when I look at what blockchain brought with cryptocurrency and how disruptive it is, you have an expert like Warren Buffett saying, Bitcoin is rat poison. I mean, and then you got Bill Gates investing in Bitcoin is crazy. And then my favorite, Bitcoin is a fraud. It's worse than the tulip bulbs. Jamie Dimon in 2 months later after that statement, what does JP Morgan do? They look at opportunities and plan Bitcoin, future markets. So you have these experts that have always been leveraged or looked at from a financial standpoint of giving advice to the world. And they've always been included in that circle of what's the best route to go? How should we invest? Now you ask them about Bitcoin, and they don't know how to act because they're not experts in that area. And because of that, it's disrupting that culture of them being an expert and relied on for people to take. Now, what they don't understand is over 2.5 billion people that had never had access to like banking institutions can now go have a currency on their phone. So tell that to them, the people that have a government they live in where they can go just take their money out of their bank account, or they can come just take their land, or they can't give them a loan. Tell them that they can't use a cryptocurrency on their phone to give them value. But they can, because they've always been included in that whole world. But now blockchain brings on this technology that allows people to have access to what we call as currency over our phone that's secure because of blockchain, and they don't like that. They don't like not having control or the say of what direction people are going in that they've always been an expert in. So when it looks at disrupting cultures, it's in so many different ways. So where's blockchain being adopted in existing business cultures? So healthcare. Last month, when you look at Optimum, United Healthcare, and Humana just built an alliance together to do a blockchain pilot around mandated provider directories. Now, healthcare is definitely not the most adoptive, I'd say, vertical to anything that's innovative. But if these companies are joining together, they see the value in using blockchain. And I was just speaking at a healthcare conference down in Florida, and when they heard that, they were like, how can we talk to them? Because they've never had that. They've never seen a big companies like that go ahead and jump out and be the first ones to lead that initiative. And now, like, how do we talk to them? Because they see the value in it. Global trade, I mean, IBM and Maersk, I mean, they built that supply chain company, and now there's 23 companies signing on board with them, and 72 kind of in holding pattern to get on board. At first, everybody thought, oh, it's just for them to get rich. But then they was like, no, it's open to everyone. No one's going to own this. You can all take advantage of it. And now they're seeing the value in it, and now they're jumping on board with that. Local state governments. Vermont just decided to start putting land registries on blockchain. That's an example. Idaho's doing it for infrastructure. Arizona's letting people pay for their taxes in Bitcoin. So you have different pockets of innovation going on in different areas of the country and different states that blockchain is definitely making it innovative for people that like that, but they're getting that message across to bring people into it. And that's the important part of it, of that change or shift in cultures of adopting to a new technology. And then globally, when you look at, I think Sweden, they're doing land registries, and then Mexico's using, looking at using blockchain for public contracts. So in different areas of the world, you see an adoption to different cultures that normally wouldn't do it fast because they're seeing the value in it. And the people that are involved with it are doing their own research on it so they can be involved with it, so they can't be left behind. And that's the biggest thing is do your research on it. Do not just take anybody up here or my word for law. Do your research. If I'm saying these things are fact, go look them up. That's the problem. Everybody, I've spoken at conferences and meetups, and everybody just wants an answer, and they want to know blockchain and cryptocurrency in a week. It's not going to happen. Do your research. The more comfortable you are and the more comfortable organizations are, then it's so much easier for you to make that decision on it. So if companies want to get into it, I tell them, understand it first, prepare for it first. So then you're confident, you know what? I want that blockchain platform because it has this, this, and this. I have a friend that's a consultant. He's over in Dubai. And if anybody knows, Dubai is going whole infrastructure, blockchain 2020. And he told me 2 weeks ago, he's like, yeah, they're using Hyperledger for their private blockchain. And they were going to use Ethereum for public. But halfway through, they realized the applications they were building weren't going to work the best on Ethereum. So now they have to change and figure out which one they want to use. Because blockchain changes every day. It's like a dog year in one day. And they, who had a set goal of using Ethereum, now think, we have to switch that now. So if you're a company that's getting the blockchain, you think, oh, here's my plan, I'm not going to deviate from it, be prepared to deviate from it, because something better could come along in the next 6 to 7 months with blockchain where you go, you know what, I want to use that instead of what we planned. And just to wrap it up, this is a quote I love, and it's really, you can either move forward into growth or backwards into safety. And I look at it for those companies that are innovative, that want to go into blockchain, are going to move forward into growth. Those ones that are scared and want to just go off what they know, they will stay exactly where they're at and say, we're experienced, we'll wait. You can wait. And like that, the article from Gartner, you will not have a company that you recognize before if you do that. So thank you. Any questions? Sure.
So I'm pretty sure we all, as a blockchain community, we want to get the word out there. We want the world to know about it. Yeah. So you showed us the video how it sounds like to these people who don't know. So what would you say is the best practice or the best way to approach someone who, not because I'm pretty sure everyone knows it's in the back, blockchain, but they don't know. So what would you say is the best practice or best way to approach someone to try and, not sell it to them, but just make them aware that it's there and you should look into it? What?
That's a good question. And it's funny because I'll give you an example of how hard that is. So my wife works for Oracle, and I remember when I got into blockchain around this time, I went to her, I'm like, blockchain is going to change the world. I'm all excited. I'm hyper. And she's like, yeah, it's unhackable. I'm like, no, I'm serious. It's going to change the world. You have no idea. She kind of blew me off. So fast forward to June of 2017, Oracle's Q1. She's home watching their all-hands meeting online. CTO of Oracle gets up and goes, Oracle will be investing in blockchain technology in FY 2018. She pauses it. Come and gets me. She's like, I need you to see this. I said, okay. So I watch it, and I stand there, and I look at it, and I go, you believe me now? And she goes, yeah, I believe you now. And it took that. I couldn't convince my wife, who over 10 years, and I'm like, whatever. And she works for Oracle until she heard it from something that was bigger than just myself. Then she believed it. And I think that's, at times, what it's going to take is, I tell people, I'm like, okay, well, here's how I can define it for you, but here's a couple other answers that you can get, or here's some areas you can look up the answer, because there's going to be different ways that people describe it, kind of like I brought up. There's different definitions, and I've realized I can't go at them from the passionate way that I love to, that I have to take a step back and go, they have no clue what it is. So how do I do it in a simple way that doesn't push them away from it, but gets them interested and saying, hey, here's a couple things, or hey, this company here, like Walmart for supply chain, or Maersk, or you look at these healthcare industries, depending on kind of what role they're in. Here's an example of what's going on. Take a look at it. Or I send them a video. And I kind of just step away. And I say, if you want to ask me another question, fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. Because like anything else, when people force something on you, you kind of just put the shield up and you're like, that's okay. I don't want to hear an answer. But when you sing, you know what, I'm interested now. Can you tell me more? Sure. What do you want to know? And that's the thing. I kind of showed the video of people standing around and like those drill instructors you see just going at people like, oh, blockchain this. How do you not understand it? Da-da-da. I mean, it's the best thing in the world. It's going to do this. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And you can kind of see the grades that work, and you kind of realize, okay, I can't force feed you this. I'll give you a little bit, and when you're ready and you start hearing about it more in the news and everything else, you'll come back and go, can you tell me a little bit more? I'm like, sure. Or if I don't have the answer, I'll direct them saying, hey, you know what? I have a friend that can answer that better than I can. Because I never try to say, if I don't know the answer, that I'll try and fake it and make it up. I say, let me find out who I know that's in that area. Because blockchain, you can be in cryptocurrency, you can be in mining, you can be in blockchain. There's so many different areas you can be passionate about. And depending on what they're passionate about, I want to make sure they align with the person that has that same interest. So, yeah. Anything else? All right, well, thank you very much. Have a good one.